The best of the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League has brought the national tour to Lucas Oil Speedway. And as we approach the end of the season, championships are up for grabs. Some of the points battles are as close as we've ever seen in the history of the series. These guys will bring their A game. Everybody's excited. The fans are ready to watch multiple classes. Of course, the mods are in the house, but the pro stockers are also here. The green flag will fly for everybody, and the excitement is about to begin. It's the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League, and it's next. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wheatland, Missouri. This is the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League, and it's the Canada All-Natural Pet Foods Pro Pulling Nationals presented by K&N. We have a packed house out here at the Diamond and Dirt. Ken Stout and Leslie Mears ready to call the action for you, and of course, we'll get some help pit side as well, but we are down to it here, Leslie. This is when it all matters.
Well, and it's all on the line here, and they have put a lot of time into the track. It is in its best shape that we've ever seen it out here at Lucas Oil Speedway.
Here's a look at your MagnaFlow exhaust products. Points in the super modified category.
And you know what? Bro Leishner and the Dirt Slinger right there at the top, but the Bunnages and Takes a Lick and really coming on strong here at the end of the season, and it's anybody's ball game out there for that championship with the E3 Spark Plug super modified tractors.
Of course, we'll get started off here in that category with LD Nation. Always a great story. But, yeah, you called it before. You know, the Bunnages, if they would have started the way they really picked up come mid-season, I'll tell you, this thing would look a little different, but it's not over by any stretch of the imagination. And,
you know, 6 points is only 3 places. And, you know, we could possibly end up in a tie. It just all depends on how they've done their homework out here for this Wheatland dirt. You know, they've brought in a lot of great dirt on this track to make it better over the years. And again, lots of time, lots of water poured into it to make sure it's nice and tacky and that these guys are going to get great grip out here. So we know we've got a great track. We'll see how these guys react.
This is a Speedco Indian Outlaw LD Nation, a seasoned veteran to say the least, has come out with a couple of different combinations. This is the turbine tractor. Way off to the left side of the track, finally has to get into the brakes. That'll cost him some major league distance. 298.14 is not how he wanted to start off. The question here, because he does have the option, does he keep it or does he turn it down?
And you can see the thumbs there, and they're talking about distances, and they're trying to figure it out. He does a great job launching off the line, gets the front end up early, and you can see how quickly that E3 Spark Plugs box tops off to put the full force of the sled on him, straining those D11 turbines out there before he finally spins it in hard.
So they'll tow LD Nation off out of the way. Of course, that will be the new mark to beat, 298.14. But based on the fact that he went way to the left side of the track to the point that he had to get on the brakes, I've got to think that there's a really good opportunity somebody will surpass that mark. Of course, after a handful of tractors here, we'll also tell you what the full pull mark is. The next competitor will be the Down and Dirty tractor, as you saw your running order there, and a bit of a story there as well, as Blake Stewart now is working his way into the program.
Well, you know, it's interesting with the Stewart family. You know, you can see their dad, Jerry, out there. He started in 1963 pulling farm stock tractors and moved himself up all the way to these multi-engine monsters here in our E3 Spark Plug Super Modified Tractor category. And as they've progressed in pulling, they've also kind of handed down the torch. It was Michael, who is their oldest son. You know, he drove the tractor for a while, and he still drives it on occasion with the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League. And, you know, Blake does the wrenching at home, does the wrenching on the road, and now getting a chance to pop in the seat and get an opportunity to drive.
You've got to think at one point, maybe there's enough parts and equipment there. Maybe they come out with a 2-tractor effort.
Well, it's very possible with these guys. They have at least one extra engine, or at least the parts to repair a whole extra engine with them on the road all the time. So you can only imagine they've got at least 2 sitting in the crate at the shop. Great looking pull working here. I wouldn't call it
deadly straight, but certainly straight enough to stay out of the brakes, and there's the result. 326.71, your new leader by a bunch.
Hey, not bad there for the young gun. This is his first season driving here on the series and does a great job. You can see he kind of eases it off the line a little bit before he pours it all on and hooks up those big 30.5-inch tires. And, you know, the motto here with the Stewart family is, you know what, never touch those brakes unless you absolutely have to. And you see he wavered side to side just a bit, but didn't hit the brakes and kept a great distance.
So excellent job, as you mentioned before, for the young man. Blake Stewart coming out here has set the new mark to beat at a very stiff 326.71. That one will be tough to get around. Up next will be a tractor called the Double Stuff. Brent Long behind the wheel, and a completely different design here. Two industrial power plants, but what a spectacular looking tractor.
It's very complex in its design. You can see the two different motors, those DT466 Internationals. They're fueled by 3 turbochargers on each motor. You can see the 2 turbos up high. They then feed into a larger, like 100-pound turbo down below to help push air into that engine. Now, a completely different driving style for Brent Long, because he's got to bring the boost pressure up on those turbos first and get all that air in there before he can let it go.
And a very solid effort here as well. 307.90, good enough to take over second place for now. And of course, another major change to these engines from their stock configurations, the fact that they've been converted over to alcohol.
Absolutely. And, you know, originally 466 cubic inches, now they're looking at right around 650. And of course, Brent Long, the designer of these engines, he does a lot of work for people in the unlimited super stock class and getting the opportunity to come out here and drive the Double Stuff. Now, these DT466 have a little bit of a disadvantage because they're only making about 6,000 horsepower in comparison with the automotive reciprocating engines that are right around 10,000.
Yeah, I mean, you say 6,000, you're talking about total 3,000 apiece.
Correct. Like Wayne Bunnage here with the Takes a Lickin' machine, he has those 4 automotive reciprocating engines, and they're pushing about 2,500 horsepower each to combine together for the 10,000 that he's going to pour into this great track.
Boy, the front end hanging perfectly on this one. He's got everything just right. And it shows, man, what a monster pull here for Wayne Bunnage. 347.84. You talked about it before, how this team has really come on since mid-season, now making a real charge at the championship, and this is exactly why.
And they attribute all their success to that Engler chassis and some fresh motors that they got over the winter. And you can see he's trying to keep it away from that white sideline and even pulls out of it early as he sees that red flag. Just a really awesome run there.
Huge distance there at 347.84. It takes over the lead by a bunch, some 20 feet. Very impressive here when you take a look at the numbers from Down and Dirty set earlier. So a solid effort. And, of course, eventually Big John Mears is going to have a tough decision to make on where that full pull is going to be, or it could be a floating finish line.
Well, he's got 2 right now out past 320 feet. And so when you get 2 out there, it's kind of like, well, do I really want to run all these guys in a pull-off? And as we've seen, the 2 farthest distances so far have been from the reciprocating motors. So that's telling me that this is a power track, that it's going to take a lot of horsepower to get on down there, and these reciprocating motors are putting up big distances.
Oh, when you talk about big horsepower, the Joker certainly is loaded up with it. Sean Swearingen, a former champion inside of this category, has another incredible-looking machine out here, and this one does make some smoke.
Now you're going to say, hey, why isn't the Joker in the points race this year? Well, they took some time off at the beginning of the season to do some motor work, to change some things about their combination, about the way that the motors are tied in together through their gearboxes. Sat out a couple pulls, but hey, tough as anyone else on any given day.
Oh, and in the throttle and right back out just that quickly, and he's shutting it down. So a problem here with Sean Swearingen's Joker tractor, and immediately started looking at that back power plant, trying to decipher what has gone wrong with the machine. Now, the good news is he is yet to go 100 feet, so he does have an opportunity to come back later in the poll.
And it's very early on in the class, and so he's going to have lots of time to take it back to the pit and get it fixed.
There's your General Tire Top 3. Stay with us. We'll have more when we come back to Wheatland, Missouri. The Lucas Oil Motorsports Hour is brought to you by Canaday, all natural pet foods. K&N, the world's best air filter. And by MagnaFlow Exhaust. The first thing you hear, the last thing you see. The Lucas Oil Motorsports Hour is brought to you by E3 Spark Plugs with Diamond Fire Technology. We're in Wheatland, Missouri. This is the Super Mod category, and that is your points leader, Bill Leischner. Of course, so tough to beat on any given season. Well, with more on what just happened with the Joker, let's get down to Crash Gladys. First time we've heard from her so far this show. Crash, what do you have?
Guys, check out this pit thrash with the Joker team for Sean Swearingen. You've got the Rockstar team helping out, the Midnight team helping out, the Runnin' Bear All-American team helping out. That's just what pulling is all about. What happened with this Joker is that he had 2 leaking fuel hoses and he was down a cylinder. It takes all these guys to get it right so he can get back and pull on a mean run.
Well, that's good news. At least he'll be able to come back. He was also able to recognize it pretty quickly there. All right, here comes the Rockstar Energy Drink Dirt Slinger.
Oh, look how far that front end's up. He's getting lots of hookup.
Yeah, throw the red flag because he'd still be going. 355.60, and Big John Mears right now is thinking, man, I need more weight in that sled.
Absolutely. You should have put that weight in the box a long time ago. Look at that. The front end up off the ground so high. Perfect transfer weight. Those rear tires squatting down. See lots of wrinkle in them. It's just what you want.
Solid effort out of Bill Leischner, and of course that sets up this points battle we've been talking about with Leischner and Bunnage. That's exactly what Leischner had to do, given the fact that Bunnage had done so well. So he gets out there and is able to maintain his spot.
And that's just what he had to do. He's in the lead. Now the Bunnages are kind of sweating because they've got to hope that there's going to be a pull-off tonight, that that's not going to be a floating finish line. As you can see with the distances here, with 3 tractors out over 320 feet, there's a good possibility that it could be a floating finish line because they don't like to have a lot of guys in the pull-off.
You've established 320 as the full pull mark. Why is it?
Absolutely. End of the season, points championships are down. Let them earn it on the track. I think that's the fairest way to do it.
So there will be a pull-off here, and that kind of changes the scenario a little bit as well as LD Nation backs up his second tractor here in the category. But oddly enough, typically you don't want more tractors in the pull-off if you're in the pull-off, but for the Bunnages, it's a different scenario.
And the way that the points work, they need 2 additional tractors in the pull-off. And then when they would come back for the pull-off, they would have to get first, and Leischner would have to get last in order to take over the lead to win the championship. 6 points is 4 places.
Another great looking tractor here for LD Nation. And he's looking over there trying to find out where that mark is to get past. How about 319.12 as he misses that by a little more than 3/4 of a foot, a little over 9 inches, keeps him out of the pull-off. And the Bunnages have to be saying, are you kidding me?
They were just hoping and praying and crossing their fingers back there at the starting line, but it looked like LD had some problems with his left rear motor. It looked like he had some additional fuel spraying out of the cylinders, like he had a couple cylinders down, and it looked like he had some fuel drips there towards the end. So having that cylinder down, losing that extra power, that's what he would have needed to push him out over to get to that 320 mark and put in the pull-off.
So a much better effort there for the automotive style tractor there that LD Nation was campaigning versus his turbine tractor, but still not quite enough to get into that pull-off. Jamie Austin coming up next here with the Predator. Of course, you can see the Miller Lite sponsorship on the back of that one. The blower hats on this one, a little older school, but it still gets the job done. You talk about these power plants making 2,500 horsepower. They can really do that pretty easily now with parts across the counter. Wasn't so back in the day, but now you can buy the parts you need to make an easy 3,000 horsepower. So these guys back them down a little bit because they're not allowed to make any more than 10,000 for a combination here in this category.
Yeah, only 10,000 horsepower. And Jamie Austin, a little bit less horsepower than most. He's running some Chevrolet engines. They're only 511 cubic inches versus some of the others that are the Hemis, that are the 575s and the 557s. So he's got a little less power, but he says it gives him an advantage on some particular tracks where you don't need all that power.
Couple plates flopping around up there in the front, looking for some front-end weight. 303.55, and you talked about this track being a power track here tonight, and I think that's a good indicator. That was a solid effort out of him, but as you mentioned before, this one being down a little bit overall in power could have cost him.
When he gets the front end up early, that's exactly what you want to do. You want to squat those rear tires and hook it up, but again, you can pour it all on there, but if you don't have it, you can't bring it with you to the track. So, a little bit of an advantage, but still a great effort and a great looking run there for Jamie Austin.
All right, next up, it's called the Texas Bullwhip out of Cat Spring, Texas. Don Nelson is the driver. A little muddy smoke rolling out of that one already. Great looking tractor here, and another one that's certainly strong enough to get into the pull-off, and we still have some solid tractors coming up in this category. With 4 left, the Bunnages have got to say, man, I hope so, because they've got to have them in there to keep themselves in the race. And, they've come really a long way. Over 40 years of pulling, they picked up their first couple of wins this season on the national circuit. And, to be this close at the end of the year, they've got to hope that they can put themselves in the hunt. He pulls the chain taut. A lot of times they'll just sneak that sled forward a little bit when they do that, an inch or two. Boy, these guys look good out here tonight. There's some good dirt here at the Lucas Oil Speedway. And the Texas Bullwhip comes out here, and again, a solid effort, but not enough to get into the pull-off. 3:02 and 35 on any other night with the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League would be enough to put you at the top of the heap. But this track has been groomed, and it was a little suspect that they were even going to get to pull out here on this night because it had rained all day the day before. There was a lot of water on the track. There was a lot of mud out there everywhere. But the crew was able to pull it together and create this wonderful surface out here. Probably one of the best tracks that we've had all season. By the way, that onboard shot courtesy of GoPro cameras, and boy, they give you a great view of what's going on with that transfer box there on the sled. Well, the fans have packed in the house. They're having a great time and watching an awesome pull. There is your General Tire Top 3. The Lucas Oil Motorsports Hour is brought to you by Geico Power Sports. Insurance for all things that move you. Welcome back to the Canada All Natural Pet Foods Pro Pulling Nationals presented by K&N Filters. We're in the Super Mod category, but one of the gentlemen that's inside of the Unlimited Superstock category is helping out a number of competitors, and Crash is with him.
Standing here actually watching Jeff Hurt all night tonight. Jeff, you've got the points, I guess, pretty much wrapped up in your class, but you're out here helping everybody else. Doesn't it make you nervous for the time you get up to run?
Not really. I mean, the tractor's been running great. We got to make it to the sled. I mean, I got a lot of friends in our class and other classes that'll be there if something happens. I feel pretty confident we can pull this off.
It's just wonderful, though, to see you helping the Swearingens, the Leichners, everybody out here.
They've all been there helping us, and they're just great friends, and that's why we do this. I mean, it's just a great time, and it's our family. When we're out here on the road, we stay at their house. We stayed at Swearingen's house a couple nights ago. Middle of the summer, we stayed at Leichner's house. It's just made the season a lot of fun.
Shannon Leichner here, son of the points leader, Bill Leichner. Of course, the turbine-powered machine, and you think there's any orders there? And you think Bill's like, you don't really need to get into that pull-off tonight, son. Well, in some motorsports that might happen, but I don't think that Bill's one of those guys that's going to say that to his son. He knows that the turbine machine is a challenge for their team and that it can make it out there on any given night. But, he'll tell you that he wants to win fair and square all the time. And that's why Big John Mears out there says, you know what, hey, we're going to let these guys decide it in a pull-off. We're not going to decide it for them out here, and we're going to make them work for it and earn it. Well, here comes the return of the Joker. Might be a good name for a tractor, by the way. Of course, Sean Swearingen's thinking, no, that means that I had to go away for a little while. But he did go away for a little while tonight. Unfortunately, his first hook to the sled presented him some problems. They pulled the sled in the back because they did not surpass the 100-foot mark. They were able to make the repairs. He's out here to try it one more time. Be interesting to see if they just cut off that front right motor or if it's running at full song. Looks good, and we have another tractor in the pull-off. 334.24, exactly what you would expect out of a former champ. Shows that they got that problem fixed, but this looks like there's a header on the ground, but with all that fluid, looks like hot oil coming out of it. It's hard to tell what it is, and that's going to make it very complicated for this Joker team to get things put back together to make it back for the pull-off. If we can see anything happen here, you can see stuff falling underneath there, but I didn't see any indicator of an explosion anywhere along the way. So pretty difficult, to be honest with you, to tell exactly what happened there. but whatever it is, it's going to be sizable in terms of him coming back for the pull-off. I mean, is he going to be able to make the pull-off? Is that catastrophic failure there out of one of the power plants? Kind of difficult to tell. So we'll see if, in fact, he does come back here a little bit later on.
Now, with the 4 different motors on there, they do have the option where they can shut down one of those power plants. But if it's something more severe and they're losing all that oil and it's something where they're all tied in together, they're not going to be able to do that.
Tim Howell will be up next. Tim Howell with the multiple turbines once again, 3 of them on there. It's called the Turbulent Toy.
You can see Jason Evans, one of his crew guys there, with the garden sprayer that's got that unique mixture of kerosene and gasoline there that they put into the turbines. You know, a tough run here for Tim Howell for a couple reasons. Not only does he want to make it into the pull-off, but he's also got a little battle going with LD Nation. And if he beats LD Nation's distance on the Indian Outlaw, he's going to surpass him in the points. And there's nothing that these 2 guys like better than to rib each other into the pits and joke around. So he knows he's got to put on a good show here to get past that Indian Outlaw machine.
Well, he could accomplish 2 things at once. If he gets into the pull-off, he will also beat LD Nation. And it's not going to happen. You know, it looked like he might have lost power in that center turbine right at the hit of the throttle. And the 274.54 would be an indicator that he lost a fair amount of power.
He looks really disappointed about this run, of course, you know, not only because he could have beaten LD, but because he's a true competitor out here. And, you know, these guys like to give it their all on the track, you know, even though they do help others back in the pits.
Yeah, and those turbines very rarely fail. So there's a look at the tractors that are able to come back here for the pull-off. And the Bunnages will have a shot to tie up with Leishner for the championship if they can win it all. And Bill struggles. Come on back. The Super Modified Championship is up for grabs. The Lucas Oil Motorsports Hour is brought to you by Rockstar Energy Drink. Party like a rock star. There's a look at the down and dirty. Blake Stewart is doing the driving duties here. We talked about the young man before coming out here, has wrenched on him for a long time, and now getting his feet wet behind the wheel.
Well, don't expect the big distances that you saw during the regular competition, because we saw that they put one of those 2,000-pound suitcase weights in the rails of the sled. It's going to be a little tougher for these guys to get down there 350 feet.
A little hop right there out of the tractor at the very start. And that'll pull him back here a little bit. 293.96 will be the mark to beat. A solid effort there. The tractor looked really good. Stayed pretty straight as well. The very beginning, a couple little hops here at the beginning, right there. And that could cost him just a little bit.
And that's something that's going to come to a driver with experience, because those hops that you see probably driving through some of the holes that are put on the starting line by these big, wide 30.5-inch tires. And, you know, as he gets more experience, he's going to learn how to feel that out and how to kind of just ease on out before pouring onto the throttle to drive over those holes and to kind of drive through them a little bit so he doesn't put all the power into the track where they're hopping in those holes.
Let's get it down to Crash Gladys, who's caught up with the Bunnages.
Guys, earlier we heard Bill Leishner talking about how he was going to move weight forward for the pull-off. Well, the Bunnages have decided to do exactly the opposite. They have moved weight to the back of their tractor in hopes of giving them a better run now in the pull-off.
So that's kind of interesting. They're actually going different directions, but everybody's setup is a little different.
And once you see that weight go in the box, you've got to know how your tractor is going to react to that. So Bill Leishner thinks that he needs more weight on the front to keep it down because he launched so hard in the beginning. The Bunnages think that they need more weight on the back to help hook up those tires.
293.96, the mark to beat, and just sneaking by about 3 feet. 296.91, and Wayne Bunnage and Team Bunnage, which takes a licking, takes over the lead. They have a shot at tying this deal up. I don't think they can win the championship, but they can tie it up and they can win this event and send Bill Leishner a message.
Well, and that's going to keep Bill on his toes throughout the course of the winter. And, you know, all the pullers say that nothing will carry you over the long, cold winter better than a win at the end of the season. You know, it's great to win the championship, but if you can go off on that high note and you can win and you can carry that through the winter, it does great things for the morale of your team and coming into the beginning of the next season.
Well, the fans are having a great time here. Crash is on her way over to talk to Wayne Bunnage about that run that just happened. Crash?
Well, Wayne, you just did it. Is it going to be enough to hold off Bill Leischner?
I don't think so. I was on the brake pretty hard about 150 foot, and I let off, and I knew it was going to hurt me about 20 feet, and it's going to hurt me in the long run, I think.
As much as you want this event, you never know. He's still out there ready to go.
I know. I tuned the motors down just a little bit because it was too aggressive first time. I probably should have didn't do that. If I wouldn't have been on brake, you never know. We'll see.
Well, and that's how it goes. You know, after the run, you can second-guess yourself forever. He's wishing he had more horsepower at this point. Didn't get on the brakes. That is a big difference. But that's not to say that Bill's not going to have his own fair share of issues.
Well, and these tractors have so many different variables that you can adjust from run to run that's where it plays into it. And these guys can always second-guess themselves about something.
The Rockstar Energy Drink, Dirt Slinger coming out here, looking to lay one down. He can settle it right here. And he gets it done. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your 2010 Modified Tractor Champion. Once again, Bill Leischner puts together the magic 313.12. He still has one tractor to deal with about winning this event, but he is your champion.
You know, that 200 pounds that he put on the front, you can see those two little plate weights on the front made a huge difference for him. You know, the front end is not up as high as it was the first time. He's getting that great point of transfer to the weight to the rear tires and puts up that good number.
Excellent job. Bill Leischner, a multi-time champion, a very classy champion. You talked about him before as well. Always looking to win fair and square. He goes out and does it right. A veteran in the sport, has been doing it for a long time. Congratulations to him, but I'll tell you something, hats off to the Bunnages. They made a solid run at it here this year.
Well, and I tell you what, the second place finish should carry them through the winter quite well. And, you know, Bill Leischner's got to be looking over his shoulder awfully hard this year. And, you know, some names that we're not mentioning tonight at this poll are Ken Veeney and some others who are out with some mechanical breakage. So everybody keeps chasing him down. And, you know, it gets tougher and tougher every year for him to put himself on top, you know, as technology advances and as these guys figure this out a little bit more. You know, he's got 30-plus years on him out here. And some of these guys, you know, only 10 years in the seat.
Yeah, that's 2 years in a row for Bill, by the way, just winning the championship as Ken was right there on him. Here's a look at the Joker, Sean Swearingen. Problems in the beginning, but he was able to make it back out here to the pull-off. Of course, they had to make some repairs. You can still see some fluids under there. So these guys struggled, but hats off to them to make it back out. And Bill Leischner, not only does he win the championship, but ends the season with a win. That's getting it done.
Still a tough run here by the Joker. You can see lots of fluid coming out from the bottom where we saw that mechanical breakage earlier. Hats off to the Joker team, though, for working hard in the pits and getting themselves out here. It takes a lot of time and effort to work on these automotive reciprocating engines.
Yeah, those guys are able to come back here and make the pull-off again. Just an outstanding effort from that team. There's a look at the distances along with the pull-off distances. So congratulations once again to Bill Leischner, the Rockstar Dirt Slinger. 657 points, wins it by just 8 points.
Bill Leischner is the man again. He did it in 2009. He's doing it, well, he just did it in 2010. Winning the race, winning the championship. It doesn't get any better than this.
Well, it doesn't get any better. I mean, come here and win this Rockstar Energy Drink. Rockstar. What do you think? Please just give us new levels this year. Just great. Special cut tires we had on there, you know, from Chad Mayhill, from Hoosier Tire. Got to thank Heritage Seeds, you know, and Fast Sprayers for helping us get here. But you know, Rockstar. That's what's got us here. That's our major sponsor. That's great. And all these helpers. You know, Crash, I can't do this, you know. And my daughter-in-law at home helping get stuff. Jed, he films and does stuff. My son Shannon drives the other tractor. You know, I'm just lucky enough to sit in the seat and pay the bills. But it takes all of us. It's just a well-knit group and operation. There's guys at home that don't come. I just got to thank everybody at home and those sassy engines and Brian Knox. I mean, he's just fantastic to work with. We switched. We got 4 Knox motors on there. They're building a lot of power. It's just wonderful this year. I mean, we had 3 mulligans in there, went to the Indy Super Bowl, throttle rocket broke. Tires didn't work at Hamburg. Chad Mayhill cut us some tires. These guys went to work. We come out here and win them both. What can I say? I love it. Rockstar Energy Drink.
Nice job. In case you didn't figure it out, Rockstar Energy Drink is his sponsor. All right, when we come back, we have some highlights from a number of different categories. Stay with us. It'll be fun. The Lucas Oil Motorsports Hour is brought to you by Speedco, Truck Lube and Tires. There's a look at your MagnaFlow exhaust products points battle in the Pro Stock category. It is tight.
Well, and the young buck Brad Moss, Miles Stratton coming on strong with 4 points back of Steve Boyd and that Lucas Oil green streak.
This tractor here is just absolutely gorgeous. I love them when they're clean. I mean, you want these guys to have sponsors, don't get me wrong, but when they look like that, it is just a thing of beauty.
Well, when the Young Buck team came out with this tractor just a few years ago, they decided to keep it neat and clean and tidy. And hey, they're on a roll. 325 and 49 is the first hook of the night.
Don Masterson with the Tinker Toy was up next. Another solid-looking effort here out of the John Deere camp. And, of course, he would go just a little bit further. 330.82, and the battle was on.
Greg Boyd knowing he's got to bring it here in the green streak too. 3 points back of his father, and I know there's no marching orders in that camp. He's going to go out there and he's going to try to lay it on thick and take that points championship for himself.
Yeah, talk about competitive. Those guys really are. 315.08 was not good enough for the lead. Here is the billet binder driven by Stuart Mays. The International, first red tractor we've seen out here tonight. 309.72 was the mark, and here comes your points leader.
Steve Boyd knowing he's got to have this thing whipped up and ready to rock and roll after that 315 and change run by his son. Knows he's got to lay it on thick.
And lay it on thick he did. How about 345.04 as he destroys the category.
Bryce Van Genderen, the tire cutter from Iowa in the geared green machine, showing what that 8510 can do.
And a solid effort out of him at 322. Saw some fluid underneath it. Up next, Rodney Schnitker in the Meltdown. Another international out here. And he was looking to surpass Steve Boyd. And that's exactly what he did. The Meltdown came out here and laid it on the boys.
Tell you what, that old school international, brand new for the 2008 season, takes the lead.
350 feet, man, what a solid effort as we watch the Hunted here, driven by Dennis Schaubert.
The John Deere 7810 always looks good, performs well too.
The Contents Under Pressure, driven by Troy Schradel at 337.52. Another guy out here, boy, really tinkered with the sideline there.
Everybody running real close to that left sideline, making our Finnish flagman work hard for it out there.
Absolutely. Big John Mears trying to stay in front of these guys. A few sparks out of the clutch can down there for our next competitor, Travis Doman, driving the Hurricane Alice.
These guys coming from Centralia, Kansas, picked up the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League Series on their circuit a couple years ago, and they are tough.
The distance there, 344.13, was good enough for third place, but the Meltdown was the man when it was all said and done. And Rodney Schnitker was ready to be interviewed by our Crash Gladys. Crash?
Rodney's taking the win tonight, 5 feet beyond the Boyd family. That's an accomplishment in itself.
That's a huge accomplishment. They're some of the nicest people out there and the toughest running tractors there are out there. And anytime we can even be close to them, we're just tickled to death.
There's a look at the points after the season was said and done. Lucas Oil green streak, won it all.
Young Buck slides into second, and Crash is with our champion.
Well, he might not have taken the show tonight, but he took the big prize. The big prize being the championship. You did it yet again. Steve Boyd, congratulations.
Well, thank you. It's hard to do, you know, and we're happy to be able to do that. There's a lot of good tractors, and it was really close all the way down to the wire, so we're happy to do that.
Very competitive category, to say the least, so congratulations to Steve Boyd. Stay with us when we come back. It'll be the Unlimited Super Stockers. The Lucas Oil Motorsports Hour is brought to you by R&L Carriers. One call, one carrier. This is the Canada All Natural Pet Foods Pro Pulling Nationals presented by K&N Filters. We had the mods up first and then followed that with the Pro Stockers. Up now, the Unlimited Super Stockers. Talk about big-time horsepower. All these power plants have been converted over to alcohol, and they do make some steam.
Oh, big break right off the line for John Evans and the big toy, too.
132 feet, he did surpass the 100-foot mark, so his effort for the evening was done. Up next was the Dominator Deer, driven by Mike Nobinger.
And tell you what, that John Deere tough, not a lot of Deeres in the field here. Most of these guys running those DT466 Internationals and that sweet-looking International red side shields.
Mike would set the mark to beat at 297. Then Ryan's toy number 2, driven by Tim Howe, would come out here and blow right past the mark. He would set the new mark to beat at 312.16.
That great desert sunset paint job on the Big Temptation coming out of the Haug stables from Kansas. Always a tough looking machine out here. Comes in at 311.16.
Missed it by just 1 foot. Next competitor is the big toy, driven by Jason Evans. We saw John Evans out here a little bit earlier. Jason having some better luck.
That General Tire box topped off, gave him a little push, and he just kept on rolling as he hooked up hard.
Oh yeah, he took over the lead by a ton, sent a message to the rest of the category.
375 and 49, the new distance to bees as the Little Temptation case. And Elmer Howell comes out and spins it in at 308 and 14.
Elmer's like, dude, 308 and I'm not even remotely close. Well, here's your 2010 Unlimited Superstock champion, the Running Bear All-American, driven by Jeff Hurt.
He's got lots of torque on that machine. He's trying to get out there at that 375 mark to put that exclamation point on his season as well.
Well short of that, but good enough for second place as it stands right now, 337 even.
And it's always great to see BJ Marino bring out the Show Me Showdown, coming to us from the state of Missouri, of course, with his great-looking case machine at 335 and 35. An impressive effort for a tractor who hasn't been out a lot this year.
That was good for third place, and then the last one of the evening for the category, the long machine, driven by Glenn Long. That one laid up a little bit lame right at the very end, still 314.43, but that would wind it up. And of course, the 375.49 by Jason Evans ended up as the mark to beat as you take a look at the Rockstar Energy Drink final results for the Unlimited Superstock category.
You had something for the entire field tonight, every single class. You demolished everyone with a 375. Congrats on the win.
Thank you very much. That tractor took off and it hammered down the track. You're right, I did have a little something for him tonight, and hopefully I can continue that again next year. Dad, he turned the right screw tonight, and that thing just went perfect down the track. I had to ride the brake just a little bit, but wasn't enough to slow me down any. I even pulled up a little bit down there into the track. I could have went a little further.
That's a great feeling, to say the least. There's a look at your MagnaFlow exhaust product points for the category as well. Congrats to Jeff Hurt, finally getting it done.
And of course, the toy tractors from the stables out of Wilmington, Ohio, coming up there, 2 through 4.
All right, when we come back, they'll be digging on all 4 corners. The Lucas Oil Motorsports Hour is brought to you by General Tire. Unleash the fury. Canada All Natural Pet Foods. And by Lucas Oil Products, made in America, sold to the world. The Lucas Oil Motorsports Hour is brought to you by Dart Machinery. And the competitors out there doing the screwdriver dance. Everybody looking for that traction out there as we come back to the Canada All Natural Pet Foods Pulling Nationals here, presented by K&N. Let's get into the Pro Mod 4-wheel drive category.
Jake Zeri going to start things off here in his Fatheads truck, spinning it in at 300.11.
Ain't Misbehaving is the next competitor here. Another great looking machine. This, of course, the Dodge. Big cubic inches for these guys in this category. People love the 4-wheel drive trucks. 295.10. Solid effort, but not enough to take over the lead.
Leanne Termollion finally got things worked out here in her Charm truck for the 2010 season. Brand new for 09. Had lots of problems with it, but it's solid running this year. And she spins it in at 305 and 86, and that's going to be good enough to take the lead.
And there's a look at your 2010 champ for the category, Jim Bosch. And Jim Bosch would do what he'd been doing all season long, come out here and take over the lead. Would it be enough to hang on? He was early in the class, but 311.87 certainly let everybody know he was solid.
And with this great power track that we've got here, anything can happen in these distances, as we've seen, can extend out there really far, as Charlie Hines tries to get it done here in his Running Wild Texas style.
The distance for him, 3:08.92. Next up would be the Stray Dog. Love the name of the truck here, and a great-looking ride for the Ford lovers. Daryl Varner, the man behind the wheel.
Running in the category with his brother Gary. You know, they've got that team truck thing going on. Helps him out here inside the category.
Daryl Varner with a distance of 3:08.04, just a little bit short of the Running Wild Texas style. Up next was the Lean Meat Machine, which we talked about a number of times, driven by Larry Smith.
He's been sitting back in the pits watching everybody else run, and he goes out there, takes the lead out there with a 3:15.71 run.
So there are still some left inside of the track as these guys are going at it now. Hot and heavy, working our way towards the center of the class. The Bamber Hemi, driven by Dave Bamber, really did a nice job. If it not have been for the Lean Meat Machine just ahead of him, he would have taken over the lead, but that effort at 3:13 was good enough for second place.
One of the good old boys from Knoxville, Tennessee, Eddie Allen, bringing out his Dodge-powered Ramrod. Going to spit it in at 3:06.37.
Then we move on to the American ride. And of course, for so many years, Chevrolet had that slogan. That's exactly what he's sporting here is the Chevrolet and Danny Hunter at 3:01.55.
The second effort here for Jake Zarian on the track in a different truck, this time the Dixie Chopper truck. Going to use that knowledge from that first run to try to extend his distance. And as he spins it in, he's inching out there 3:14.17. Good enough for second. Larry Smith still holding on to the lead.
Yeah, by just over a foot. Next up, Steve Klim and the Radical, of course, class champion here, always a tough competitor. Wouldn't have quite enough there to get out in front tonight, though.
He spins in at 3:09.91. And then Pat Paul bringing his truck to the line. Pat having a great season this year with his Dust-X Cyclone as he decided to sideline his second truck and just concentrate on this one Ford-powered machine. But unfortunately going to lay up short tonight at 287.96.
Yeah, it almost sounded like he had the wrong gear. Just never really got the RPMs up. Next up, one of the ladies out here that gets it done, the Gunpowder and Lead truck. This one driven by Sheila Hagedorn. And yes, guys, she takes over the lead. 3:16.24, solid effort out of the lady.
That new truck doing great things for that Hagedorn team. David Mills out of Knoxville as well, and the War Wagon whipping things up out there on the track, coming in awful close there. Only 0.03 of a foot behind second place with that 3:15.68 distance.
Yeah, we're talking about 1/8 of an inch. That's how close he gets. Show Me Chevy is up next, driven by Philip Chrysler. 3:08.71 ended up being the distance for Phil. And then he was followed up by Terry Hagedorn and the Untamed Spirit.
Terry definitely an advantage here, having his two trucks back-to-back, although Sheila doing the driving in the other truck, they can still transfer that knowledge as he does his dirt dance out there on the track. 3:19.95 as he puts over 3 feet on the distance of his wife. I think they're going to have a little quarrel on the way home tonight.
Yeah, he wins, but he gets to sleep on the couch. Not good. All right, so the Night Rider, driven by Brad Hunter, up next, chasing that 3:19 mark, would not have enough. And then we would take a look at the Spellbound, Tom Timoleon, and boy, is he always tough.
He picked up a win at the Indy Super Bowl earlier this season, so you know that this truck has it in it.
Gotta wonder if this track was getting better because he got out there into some fresh dirt where nobody had been as he took over the lead at 3:22.20.
But don't count out the fast break, and Gary Varner from Midway, Kentucky. The truck is always at the top of the heat, a top 5 truck competitor all the time, and he gets awful close with 3:21.96 to take second.
There was a pull-off as a full pull mark was set at 3:20, but it was Spellbound that picked up the win, so a solid effort for him.
And a great track out here at the Lucas Oil Speedway to end the season here for our Pro Mod 4-wheel drive trucks, brought to you courtesy of Speedco.
Well, Gary was a 3:18 with an 01. Tom, 3:18.89. How close was this?
About that much. Yeah, what a great run on Gary's part, my part, both. Our clutches, both of them were hot in the pull-off. We put on a good show for the fans, and what better end to a great night in the Lucas Oil Spellbound, winning at the Lucas Oil Speedway.
Here's a look at your MagnaFlow exhaust products final points here for the category. Again, congratulations to Jim Bosch and the Midnight Raider as he picks up the championship for 2010. It's been an awesome season. We hope you folks enjoyed watching just a piece of it here as well. This telecast has been produced by Lucas Oil Studios. For Crash Gladys and Leslie Mears, I'm Ken Stout. It's been a pleasure bringing you all the action here from the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League. We'll see you next year as we continue on one more time. And at the end, we'll crown some new champions. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the dirt.